And that's how you make an ending. Because the rest of the episode I was kind of about for reasons I'll get into in a moment, but the ending totally made up for it, if you ask me. Alright, so starting off this episode, we've got the Loved Ones challenge, and even if you hadn't seen the next time on, which most people saw, but I didn't, but was spoiled because of everyone else talking about it, they've only done this challenge once before, and that was a loved one visit, so it only works with the loved ones. And I gotta be honest with you, I got a little bored watching this loved one visit, and I don't know what the deal is, but like for the past few seasons, I think starting with Ghost Island, I just haven't felt that much with the loved ones visit. It could be because there's a couple more people when they're doing this challenge, and yet, if you go back to old school seasons, I know that they've done loved ones when there's 6 people a few times, because they did it with 6 people in Thailand. And I'm reasonably positive in Pearl Islands they did it with 7 people, because Tia was still around, and she was 7th, I think? Yeah, because Savage was 10, Rhino was 9, Rupert was 8th, so, there we go. I don't know what the deal is. I really don't. Ron winning it? No real comment there, although it did turn out to be like what seems to happen more often than not lately. Winning that challenge actually hurts you. In old school, I don't think it really hurts that much people, because people were like, this is just a challenge. Put it aside. And then also, I don't think there was that much inviting. Now there's always inviting. And it didn't even cross my mind that Rick was throwing the challenge until Dalton Ross pointed it out. Oh yeah, I did catch he's throwing it on purpose, but I thought he was just doing that because he realized he wasn't that good at the challenge, so he's like, let's make the most of this. No. He was making the most of it while throwing it. Damn! This guy, even though he's got some social issues, part of that being because he's either on the bottom or being just a vote to a bunch of people, he's got a lot more smarts. As I said, when he was voted out, I was like, I think we have more to see from him. We've seen it now. Victoria and Lauren getting pissed about being left behind, well, natural fallout, and again, it shows that Victoria actually does have a place in here. It's just a little tricky for her and or Lauren to find an opening, because they will occasionally utter a phrase that indicates that they're going to do something, and then it doesn't turn out to be that much. Or maybe I'm confusing Victoria with Aurora, because if Victoria's not wearing a buff or a beanie, they look a little similar. A little. Yeah, that would make sense, because both of them did try to get rid of Rick, albeit Rick was the target anyway, Ron was the backup. Wish I could remember who said it first. Oh well. Okay, what else to mention here? That immunity challenge, okay. You can really tell how desperate to eliminate filler everyone is, because we didn't even get the come-in guys for this challenge, and they completely skipped the first 2 rounds of the challenge. You do not put 3 or 4 steps. I honestly couldn't tell if it was 4 or 3 this time, even though usually it's just 3, I think, in this challenge, and then have them skip 2. It was like balancing the rod on the head challenge from Ghost Island earlier. They completely skipped the first round. They did the first round, just no one fell, so they just chose to skip that. Well, you couldn't have just done a montage of showing people struggling and then moving down the thing? Honestly, it's like, if you're that desperate for time, it's almost as if, why even have a challenge? I mean, granted, a lot of challenges that they do on Survivor we've seen before, or you have tiny tweaks to them, but it's like the Big Brother have-nots. That used to be a powerful thing where people would compete or have luck not work out in their favor. Now it's just the HOH choosing people to be have-nots. It means nothing. This is really disappointing. And I mean, I understand why they're doing it, and there's excellent strategy talk, but it's just making me think that I wouldn't be too surprised after I've watched a few seasons of the Australian version if we're going to get a situation where, ironically, a current version of Survivor that's going on, the one that does the worst job of balancing challenges and giving proper camera time to the contestants, I wouldn't be too surprised if it ends up being the American version. Yeah, my favorite reality show, version of favorite reality show, is gonna be the one that I have the most issues with in terms of the edit. Because when I was watching Survivor New Zealand, which isn't around anymore, and the most current seasons of Survivor South Africa, they did this perfectly. And I'm pretty sure that Australian Survivor has more episodes per season, so that takes care of that, but yeah. Alright. And then we've got to that bit about Rick finding an idol, which I was glad because it shakes things up a little bit, and also I had been thinking, again, odds are there's one out there and it's not being mentioned anymore, because I think we could definitely state that if it's a situation where there's 3 idols, but you lose 2 of them, they'll try and rehide one of the 2 that were played at some point, meaning that I don't think when it goes from 3 to 2, they put the 3rd one back, but 2 to 1, you put the 2nd one in, and then I'd wager if they play 2, you put 1 in there. I think we can reasonably assume that that's the case. So I was glad that he got into that, but then we get the other interesting dynamic of that advantage menu bit, which Ron tries to sell as being authentic. And it's not a bad idea, but he doesn't include, but there's no mention of when it expires, so you've got something that's good for pretty much the entire game? That's a little fishy. I wouldn't be too surprised if Rick thought about that, because he had that thing for at least 24 hours, which is probably why he brought his real idol, the Tribal Council, even though I actually thought that he would leave it someplace at camp, but no, he didn't. Good on him for that. And, I don't totally get his reasoning, because it could be that he was just trying to lull Rick into a false sense of security. Okay, that's arguable, but if he ended up playing it, how on earth does Ron think that Rick is the one that's going to look bad? Because he'll just have to say that Ron gave it to him, or he could say it before he even plays the thing, and if he says it before, that dramatically increases the chances that everyone believes him. So Ron had like nothing to gain. I mean, like, sure, when Randy played the fake idol in Gaboon, everyone laughed at him, and it didn't even seem to cross Randy's mind to say to Bob, "Hey, why did you give me that?" And like, why would everyone but that was because the only other people that had been at Exile Island were Sugar and Bob, because Dan had been voted out. Everyone on the Fawn tribe knew that Sugar had the idol, so I guess they all were able to do the math, but... Huh. Okay, but the point still stands. I see really no situation where Ron stood to gain an advantage from that situation, and instead he just set himself up to look bad and then is booted. Although, of course, he didn't know he was going to be booted, especially since Gavin theoretically could have just voted for Rick or Aurora with those votes, but then I guess he figured that he would look devious, because Ron knows that Aurora had the extra vote, but he doesn't know that she didn't use it. And Aurora's reasoning for giving it to Gavin, very smart. Risky, but smart if it pays off. Because Ron can guess that Rick voted for Aurora, so then he got votes, 3 other votes. Well, Aurora and Lauren, theoretically. So that's an excellent way of sort of covering her tracks. So it goes to show that she's, I guess, a little better than I'm giving her credit for, but I still don't want her to win this. Again, she's like the only real person that I don't want to see, but if she continues to work harder for it and then manages to make a convincing enough case, alright, I'll respect it. And again, I would hope that Lauren would do something, but now I'm starting to have my doubts, especially if she doesn't play her idol next episode. Guess it's time to watch the penultimate episode.